So I thought this would be an interesting subject to cover, and I think, in a sense, I feel a responsibility to do so. But I also want to do so because maybe it's quite an important point. I have produced well over 2,000 videos now, which I think is a lot for one YouTuber. There's people who have far more subscribers than myself and far more views on individual videos, but I do have a lot of videos. And probably around 95% of them, approximately, I allow the comment section to be open. There are some that I have closed the comment section. Now, I want to explain why. Um, Firstly, I do believe in freedom of expression, and I've often criticised governments that censor information. But I'm an individual, I'm not a government. Now, why do I block comments for some videos? What I find is that I don't have a huge number of views on my videos. So on the videos that do attract somewhat more controversy, that is to say critical opinions, um, even in those videos it might be in the thousands, it's never in the tens of thousands. So even if there's a lot of comments, the chances are if I see them I would feel obliged to reply to them. Now if I'm browsing comments and I see very, very critical negative comments, naturally I feel inclined to defend myself. That is time consuming. That is, and it's time consuming, but it also takes some patience because sometimes the comments aren't just disagreeing with me, they're outright abusive. And I'm not, I'm not crying about it. This is cyberspace. I understand that that comes with the territory. But the reason I block my comments on some of those videos is because I simply cannot be bothered to deal with that. Paradoxically, if these videos are really viral, if I had millions of views, or even tens of thousands of views, and hundreds of comments, I probably would keep them up because the volume would be so much that I wouldn't have time to look at them all anyway. But where the number of comments is not so high, but still significant, then I can't really avoid it. If I'm reviewing a video, if I'm looking at the analytics or whatever, it's hard to avoid seeing those comments. And if I see the comments, then I'd feel obliged to reply to them. So it's just time consuming. Some people might say I'm being cowardly not looking at critical comments. Well, people can interpret that whatever way they want. For me, it's not necessarily about cowardice, although I'll be honest, I don't take much pleasure in reading critical comments. And I think anyone, very few people would say they did, really. Um, it's not a case that I always censor videos. There are many, many, many comments on my videos that I've kept that have been disagreeing with me and critical of statements that I've made. But sometimes I've made particular videos that are quite controversial, and when I see, for example, the majority of responses are negative, I don't want to have to deal with having to respond to each of those comments and trying to, what's the point? Because I'm not going to get through to them. They're not going to get through to me. So there's little point in it. In theory, I could keep the comments up, but then I keep getting the inbox, notification that another one's come up there, and I feel obliged to respond to it. So perhaps it is wrong for me to block comments, but for the time being, that is my rationale for doing so. Actually, if I ever get to a point where my videos are much more viral, I'll probably keep all the comments open, paradoxically, because then there'll be so many comments that it's very rare. If you look at the top subscribers on YouTube, I mean, not the top subscribers, the top YouTubers, that is the people with the most views, they'll never reply to negative opinions because I'm guessing they simply don't have the time to. There's simply too many, and I aspire perhaps to one day get to that level. Obviously, I have a long way to go, but that's basically the reason. It takes too much energy, and quite frankly, I can't be bothered with it. I can't be bothered to have to argue back and forth and to deal with, in some cases, pure ignorance. For example, when I'm dealing with nationalistic responses to something, in my opinion, that it's very difficult to get through to nationalistic thinking because people are blinded by it. So all they're interested in doing is insulting me and saying I'm stupid or whatever. What's the point of engaging with that sort of rhetoric? And then the extension is, if I don't engage with it, what's the point of seeing it? Therefore, I block the comments. I don't want this to become a common denominator of my channel, but it is my rationale for doing it. And if some people may disagree with that, and I respect that, because as a concept, I don't think it's a particularly great thing. I'm not really proud of doing this, but that is my rationale for doing it. Simply put, I cannot be bothered to deal with the back and forth of some of those comments, and some of them are outright abusive, which I think is unnecessary, because although I can be quite passionate in my videos, I like to think I'm mature. I don't just insult people for fun. So when people throw that at me, I'm thinking, why should I have to put up with that? Um, I understand that it comes with the territory. If you put controversial things online, you have to expect a bit of a response. I totally accept that, but sometimes I simply cannot be bothered, and that's it. That is my rationale. Um, so that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope that makes sense.